Hello there, and I do hope you're all well. Now, don't worry, last one now, but this is best to last. This is the final question where I think his Shadow of the Treasurer, I think that's recalled, but he asked the Bodge, our Boris Johnson, you know, that referendum where we talked about when if we left, you said if we leave the evil overlords of the EU, we would have sunny uplands, you know, golden unicorns shooting off in the distance, firing out dust rainbows out of their arses, and we will be like buccaneering pirates running around the country, countries desperate to make deals with us and whatever. Well, the simple question was basically, when will these sunny uplands arrive at our door? And
good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, Mel.
Just want to come back to the discussion you've just had with Stephen Timms about universal credit. So if you look at the spring statement and the actions that the Chancellor has taken prior to that on tax and the taper around UC, there's a lot in that that's good because it's quite progressive, both in raising the taxes the way he's done it and the way he's brought them down as well. However, the hole or the gap is this area of those who are reliant on universal credit who are not in work. One of the reasons it's a particular problem at the moment is that inflation is increasing very rapidly. And as you will know, the UC upgrade to those benefits is pegged to the rate of inflation back in September of last year, which was 3.1%. And of course, inflation is now projected to go up to 8, 9 or 10%. So those people are going to really suffer. It will take about 18 months.
look at that. Oh, I'll just hold my pen to my mouth, make myself look intelligent as though I understand everything he's on about.
Months, according to the ODR, for that effect to pass through so that the benefit recipients actually catch up with those inflationary changes. It would be fiscally neutral to re-examine and re-index those benefits, say in a couple of months' time, and put them up in the light of the way that inflation is moving. So given that it wouldn't cost any more money to do that,
how's that?
Would that not be... Well, simply because through time, as inflation rises, the level of these benefits goes up and finally catches up with where they would have been over the longer period as inflation goes up and then comes down again. But the problem is that over the next 12 months, some of those that Stephen is referring to will have a net reduction in their income of about 10%. And as he rightly says, they're very dependent upon fuel and food and all of those costs.
That's
really
right.
tough.
Well,
Could you ask the Treasury to look at the possibilities, I believe they did in the 1970s when we had energy cost push problems, to look at the possibility of an interim up-rating of those benefits, which will be at no cost to the Exchequer across the forecast period?
Right. I mean, I think I'm...
Yes, that look at face. I've absolutely fucking no idea what the man's on about, but I'll just blather on about how wonderful we've done and how Fishy Sunak has been the saving and all that, and you see the vaccine rollout and all that fucking bollocks.
I'm going to have to go and look at the how you do it in a fiscally neutral way. And look, what we want
Physically neutral way
to do, Mel, is to look after people in the aftershocks of the pandemic as much as we have during the pandemic. And the aftershocks are proving to be really quite challenging because of this you know, the inflationary spike in energy. But that's basically what's driving it, as it has done before. I'll look at that, but I think the direct action that we want to take is to help people in particular hardship, doubling the household support fund to $1 billion through councils in the way that we have, helping people with council tax, the council tax rebate, notwithstanding the excellent point that Clive makes about the risk of that going to the landlord. I think we'll have to make sure we close that down. You know, there are a lot of things that we're doing together that are designed to tide people over, to help them through a tough time, but also taking the steps now to to build in the long-term security. But I'm very happy to ask the Treasury to look at your suggestion.
That's a no then.
That would be really helpful, Prime Minister. Thank you very much. Can I also touch on one comment you made just a moment ago, which was we have to take a decision as to how to use our fiscal firepower, which is always true. The Chancellor has decided in the Spring Statement to plant a tax reduction flag in 2024 that he's going to defend at all costs, which is to reduce income tax by a penny. The fiscal firepower that we have is very fragile, as the ABR has pointed out. It could be wiped out at a moment if interest rates go above the central forecast or inflation goes off even further up than is anticipated, or growth is flatter than is anticipated. If we end up in a situation where we've run out of fiscal firepower, we've made a commitment to that tax cut, the Chancellor and yourself are quite rightly saying we're not going to go out and borrow lots more money. That means we'll have to look at spending. So I just wondered what your assessment was of the likelihood that you're going to have to start to look at cutting back on some expenditure, public expenditure, and whether you've had departments start to prepare for that possibility, because it is a possibility that we'll end up in that scenario.
I think that first thing is to recognise the massively ambitious agenda that the government has.
Massive agenda that we have. The Brexit bluster. All that, and we mentioned the Northern Powerhouse. Talking bollocks.
We took a big decision. We had to make a big call when COVID broke, and that call was given that we could see we were going to have to spend so much.
See, bloke behind him is struggling to stay awake. There's only so much bollocks you can take in one sitting, and he's struggling now with our Bodge.
Look after people, and it was thick end, $500 billion, 408 billion to
what? $500 billion, 408 billion. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's just looking at anybody. I'm struggling here. I'm Prime Minister. I come here to make decisions. I just came here for all the trimmings.
To get people through the crisis, all told, we knew that was going to put massive pressure on public spending.
Yes. What? I'm just going to have a look, see what games I've got, because I've had enough of this bullshit. Where
were we going to go? Were we going to go back to austerity?
Yes.
Were we going to retrench? Were we going to cut? Were we going to cut our programmes?
Yes.
Were we going to cut investment in the long term? Were we going to
yes.
Cut fantastic projects that would transform this country over the long term?
Yes.
The integrated rail plan, running out of gigabit, massive investment.
Running out of gigabit.
In the NHS, massive investment in education. Were we going to cut all that?
Yes.
Because of the fiscal problem. And so I'm getting to your point. So we took a decision to keep going, and that means, as you rightly say, Mel, that the balance is now very fine, and the cost of borrowing is. We're borrowing a large amount. The cost of borrowing is 83 billion. Cost of servicing our interest is 83 billion a year. And as you say, that number can easily
just wave my hand about and make me look as though I'm intelligent.
Go up with interest rates. So we have to be.
So if it came to,
we have to be very, very careful in the way we handle.
Would you look at cutting spending, or would you look to borrow more to protect the tax cut?
And that's why we want to keep going with the plan, the long-term plan that we have.
He just doesn't know what it is yet.
But making sure that we steer a steady course and help people through the short term, but make the long-term investments that are going to. What are the big costs we need to contain? We need to contain the costs of energy, the cost of housing. These are things that we can start to address by making some big decisions now.
Okay. And finally, you said in response to a question.
This is the belter. This is the Brexit one. Get ready, you Brexit nut jobs are going to be very disappointed.
From Neil Parrish, the importance of exports. I think you were particularly looking at food at that particular moment. The OBR's latest forecasts, and I think, to be precise, it's on page 63, chart I, which you're probably very familiar with, shows the trade intensity as a percentage of GDP that our economy commands now. In other words, how much exporting and importing we're doing now compared to the past. And it also shows what happened to all the countries in the EU and our major trading partners. Now, as Brexit and the pandemic struck almost simultaneously, we all went down. So we all exported and imported much, much less. The others, as we come out of the pandemic, have gone back up to, broadly speaking, where they were before. We've stayed very low. Are you concerned that perhaps because of Brexit and the time it's taking now to strike all these deals with other countries around the world on the trade side, that we're becoming more of a closed economy? And that, of course, will have implications for productivity and also the living standards that we're seeking this afternoon to try and protect.
I'm very keen.
In other words, no, I don't give a fuck. I've got where I wanted to be. I'm Prime Minister. So, fuck you.
That we should not. I mean, we've become a closed economy at all. And I think there's we all want to grow more of our own food.
Yeah, we all want to grow more of our own food.
And so on. But I'm not a believer in autarky. We've got to be.
How quickly can we get back
open,
to where we were?
Global trading nation. And
I don't know. I'll just go off on a tangent about trading nation, global Britain.
And I do want to see much more of an export drive. And I think that I think it was Liam Fox, our colleague, a couple of years ago. Made the point. I think a lot of UK companies could sell a lot more overseas.
Oh, I'm aware, am I right? Somebody help me.
Than they do.
And
you may have noticed in the newspapers, Mel, there's a big government campaign now to encourage them.
And how long do you think it might be before we get back to where we were pre-pandemic?
I can't.
There you go. I can't.
I can't prophesy.
It's not what you said during the referendum, Bodge. Sunny uplands, golden unicorns, all you Brexit loans. Conclusive proof. You were sold a pub.
But as I told Neil, we are on it and we want to champion it. And there is no natural impediment to our exports. There is no. It is just will and energy and ambition.
Yeah, just talk utter bollocks about how wonderful we are and always Ramon has always fighting for. Got to be positive. Fucking shite.
And that's what we should be doing.
All right. Prime Minister, thank
you. Yeah, in other words, talked utter bollocks. Are you Brextremist loans who still think that the golden unicorns just round the corner, the sunny uplands, soon be moving in? No, you're not. Even the Chancellor of the Exchequer has said basically the same thing when asked when they're ready to waft interview. Can't answer because they know full well they're not coming. Hope you enjoyed these few videos as much as I've enjoyed watching them. The little turd squirm. What a wank stain he is. Right, I shall leave the video here until the next time. I shall bid you farewell and have a wonderful weekend too, and take care.